Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to World of Warships. Today, we're going to be taking a look at a game sent in by my friend Joe, or Doozy, as he's known in game. He sent this in to me like, hey, you need to record this is pretty good. I was like, alright, I might. And, well, we'll see why, but it's actually a pretty good decision for me to record this. Not gonna spoil anything, but he is here in the Tier 8 Japanese battleship, the AMAGI, which I'm actually gonna shrink the minimap a bit there, but which is, I don't know how I feel about it. I don't have the ship personally, but from times I've played against it, it's not that hard to kill. Its armor is okay from what I've been able to tell. Its guns are great. It's basically the Tier 6 Nagato, but with an extra gun turret, so it now has, instead of 8 guns, it has 10 guns. So, 10 410mm shells flying at you, or 16-inch shells. It's pretty scary, just gonna go ahead and say that. And let's get back into his view here so we can see what he's doing. So he's detected right off the bat as a battleship, and I don't think his captain is very skilled, so he obviously doesn't have concealment or anything for it. And well, Joe's gonna follow these two Bismarcks in, which is something I do not recommend with the Amagi. From what I've been able to gather, it is more of a sit-in-the-back type ship. You know, sit in the back angled against enemy battleships and other ships in general, and just shoot. That's what you do. So, here we go, first target, Nuremberg. Joe's actually taking shots from that Tirpitz right there, who obviously didn't do anything. The range and the angle that Joe was at, the Tirpitz shells don't penetrate a lot anyways, so it's whatever. Meanwhile, in chat, some dude's trying to tell him to press T, which is funny. But, more shells coming in. Don't know what they're from, but Joe slows down and starts turning to avoid them. Takes some shots at the Tirpitz, which I would have done. He's broadside on. Broadside on Tirpitz is not really that hard to pin. Following the shots in here, and one hit. One pin for 4,000 damage. You cannot complain about that. So there's Fubuki right there. She does her best. Well, she's trying her best, I should say, against two Bismarcks. Yeah, I would be smoking up right now, Fubuki, because there, as you can see, the secondaries of the Bismarcks are opening up. And those things are terrifying, let me tell you. I've been going through ranked. Yep, there y'all go. Here we go. Joe gets a full broadside on. I didn't even get a look at what that ship was, but it's another Amagi. So, full broadside in on him. Let's see what he does. And 4 pins, 2 overpins for 16,000 damage on the Amagi. As I said before, the Amagi's guns are great, so if you're shooting at anything broadside, get ready to penetrate and do a lot of damage. So here we go. Almost reloaded, and he's going to get another salvo off. Untargeted salvo at that, but the Amagi is not a very maneuverable ship, so he can kind of guess where a ship's going to be, which is right about here. And he gets a Citadel, which I do have to say, it's pretty good. Citadel and 1 pin and 1 overpin. That brought the Amagi down to about 44,000 health, which is a lot of his health, seeing as how he started with 69,500. So, another full broadside into the Amagi. I don't know what this guy's doing. He's obviously not the brightest Amagi player in the world. So another broadside and another Citadel. So, I should put that enemy Amagi down pretty low on health. Let's see here. Yeah, he's about a quarter of his health left. Joe takes some return shots. Most of them bounce, a few pin, do some damage. Benson right there is almost dead. He is now dead. The Chapiev killed him. Friendly Chapiev. And there's the Tirpitz and the North Carolina. Tirpitz is yet again broadside on, so why not fire? Joe is also not seen. The smoke in front of him is blocking his vision from those ships in front. And the island to his right is blocking the sight of the Tirpitz on him. So he does about 9,000 damage to the Tirpitz. Pretty good, I'd say. The Tirpitz was kind of sort of angled, so that's always good. Here we go, Joe lining up for shots on this broadside North Carolina right now, which that's not a good place to be in. The North Carolina is a good ship from the front. Just that's about it. Anywhere else, you are not going to be doing much. So shells in, he gets 1 citadel, 2 pins, and 1 overpin for about 18,000 damage on the North Carolina. So that brings his total up to 19 hits and 3 citadels. How many of those were normal pins? 12 normal pins and 7 overpins. He's got no bounces or no non-pins this game, so Amagi's up there on gun performance, I do have to say. Now looking at the minimap, I see a broadside battleship way off in the distance. I would have shot at him instead of this North Carolina, but I couldn't do anything about this. I actually wasn't even talking to Joe at this time, so he gets 1 overpin on the North Carolina, doing about 1,000 damage. Not a lot. So, damage totals up to 93,000. Not bad for the first 7 or so minutes of the game. And Joe starts taking shots from what I believe is that North Carolina over there. And here we see a Bayern getting a little bit too close. You know, giving Joe a little love tap right there. So here's the NC coming out full steam ahead. And this North Carolina is not going to survive. Yeah, that wasn't going to happen. So, now that North Carolina is taken out, Joe can now move around the top side of this island here and get some more shots on this Tirpitz and that North Carolina over there. As I said before, Amagi, not the fastest ship in the world or the most maneuverable, so it's going to take him a few seconds here to get around the island. Meanwhile, he's observing his surroundings. Battleship players, you need to start doing that more. Observe your surroundings. You have about 30 seconds in between each reload, unless you're German, of course, but you got about 30 seconds or so. So, after you shoot, zoom out, take a look around. Is there any threat of DDs? Are there any choke points you need to worry about? Is there smoke? Look out for things like that. Like, right here, we see a Fubuki. So what does Joe do? Joe starts maneuvering. He knows that a DD is in the area, so he's going to start maneuvering and changing course and speed. Now, the torpedo blisters on the side of the Amagi look very bulky, and I don't have the actual stats for them up right now. I do believe this will tell me, though. No, they do not. Okay, well, from what I've been able to gather, they are pretty decent torpedo belts. Better than the North Carolinas, which is amazing, because US have always had really good torpedo belts in the tiers before. Here we see the Fubuki doing her best in shooting at Joe. That's an inside joke. Or is it really an inside joke? I don't know. It's a joke, yeah. Joe is now laughing at the Fubuki in chat. As a friendly Benson, I believe that was, is moving into the smoke to flush him out. Now it's a Farragut. That's still a very scary thing for Fubuki. Anything that has a relatively high rate of fire is scary for a Fubuki. So here we go, Joe not paying attention to the battleships. He sees that they're angled. He's not going to be able to do much against them. So he's getting his guns pointing forward in case that Fubuki decides to pop out, which... Okay, I was about to say there was only 1 torpedo right there. What is going on? Now, what Joe did was kind of fake out the Fubuki. He started turning starboard and changing his course and speed to go that way, towards the enemy battleships. And then he turned hard port and went faster, faking the Fubuki out, thinking he was going to be going towards the enemy battleships when he was actually heading straight for him. So Joe's getting his guns lined up on this North Carolina, who is relatively broadside. He should be able to go straight through that. Now he's turning to go bow on towards these battleships, now that the Fubuki has launched his torps, and he got a citadel on the North Carolina with 2 pins and 1 overpin, doing 18,000 damage. Damage total is now up to 120,455. That is... I would not complain if I died at this time. Actually, I would, seeing as how Joe has only lost about 1/6 of his health. So, here we go, another full broadside. This North Carolina is not doing too hot. He doesn't know that, oh look, I'm being broadsided, so I need to stop. So there we do, another 20,000 damage with a citadel, a pin, and 3 overpins, I should say, sorry. Earning Joe the High Caliber Award. Now we're up to 140,000. 1 salvo brought his score, or his damage, up 20,000. So, Joe's now focusing on the Tirpitz, saying, you know, my friendly's going to finish off that North Carolina. Let's focus on the guy that has more hit points. There he does 20,000 damage with 4 pins and 2 overpins. Not even a citadel. And he did the damage of 2 citadels. So, here we are. He has 1 gun turret that has not fired, so he's going to line up and maybe fire at that NC, but looks like he's not. He's not staying in the smoke. The just friendly destroyer that came by and smoked him up is doing a good job. Oh, there's a wasted salvo, sort of. He fired at the North Carolina, thinking that he would still be alive when those shells hit, but obviously our friendly North Carolina kind of deleted him from the game. So here we are, focusing back on the turrets. Friendly destroyer launched torpedoes. They don't look very good. The first spread actually hit the island in front of him. I don't know what was going on there in that destroyer's head, but here we are. Another full broadside towards the turrets. Let's see what happens here. So shell follow in. 7,000 damage with 2 pins and 4 overpins. You can't really complain about that. Here comes a full broadside from the turrets into the side of Joe's ship. Luckily, it didn't do much damage. Turret's accuracy is not very good, so most of the shells hit the gun turrets and bounced or bounced off the upper deck. Did not penetrate. So, here we are going around an island, getting the guns loaded, and ready to full broadside this New Orleans and turrets. Torpedoes to the aft port, and, well, that's the Fubuki still doing her best. She is not doing too well. And, speaking of not doing too well, the team list. If we see to the top there, Joe's team is losing horribly. The enemy team still have 3 battleships, the New Orleans, and a Fubuki, and it's just Joe and 2 destroyers, so Joe's saying, well, shit in chat. He's just gonna go in. He has nothing to lose here. He's done 173,000 damage. No matter what, he'll be making a profit, so there's no reason for him not to. Now, if he stayed in the back and played a little bit more cautiously, I do believe he could have killed these guys because they don't appear to be very good players. So here we are, now getting back into the fight. So Joe peeks around the island and see what the turrets is looking at. It's obviously him. And turrets does 10,000 damage to him. Joe deciding whether or not to fire at the turrets or the New Orleans. He decides to fire at the turrets, get him out of this game, which that salvo did. Get him out of the game, get his secondaries out. The New Orleans will be easy to kill. He's an American cruiser. They do have armor, but these 16-inch guns can go straight through them. He's got secondaries. He's angled towards this New Orleans just a little bit, so that all of his secondaries can fire. And he's also angled towards the turrets off his bow, so turret shots might have trouble getting through. So New Orleans is rushing him, which is dumb because the New Orleans does not have torpedoes. Joe is waiting a second, seeing if he can get a broadside on this New Orleans so that he can guarantee a kill on him, which looks like it is about to happen. So here we go. Full broadside from the AMAGI to the New Orleans, and it only did 17,000 damage. So here we are, circling the New Orleans, bow on to the turrets. Turrets knocks out the number 3 gun turret. Joe has 2 fires, getting hit by secondaries of both the turrets and the New Orleans main battery guns. Joe is turning his ship, trying to get the rear 2 gun turrets facing towards this New Orleans and knock him out of the game. And 1 shot, 2 shot, New Orleans is down, but Joe did not survive. And, well, that was basically that. Joe, he did not survive. Here is his wreck as he's going down. But, as we can see here, 220,811 damage, which, I do have to say, is a lot of damage. He got high caliber and Confederate with 60 hits, 5 citadels, 62 secondary gun hits, 1 fire from the secondaries. I do believe that was on the New Orleans. And he shot down a plane. I guess one of them had the spotter up. And all of that for 2 kills. So, this was I'm proud of my friend Joe. He did very well. But I'd like to thank you all very much for watching. Stay safe out there, and I'll catch you next time.